Alright, hello everyone, and now welcome to game number 3 in the series, and I don't know why the observer all of a sudden has left the game. So I will be watching this game with the blue WFZ showing up as white on the minimap, since I am being forced to watch it as one of the players. Meanwhile, we are looking at actually no, maybe I should switch colors. And yeah, there we go. TBCBM will be blue, since he has been blue in the previous games. And WFZ will in fact be red. So red versus blue once more here on Turtle Rock. It looks as though we are opening up with an Altar of Darkness with a crypt, Altar of Darkness with a Death Knight. Meanwhile, Altar of Darkness, and it is going to be most likely a Death Knight with Crypt Fiends here. Now, I'm not quite sure what to make of this so far. There it is, another Death Knight. At the 2-minute mark, we should be getting out that Death Knight with a couple of ghouls, and then we'll see what he will be making of this here in just a moment. Now, the Death Knight has a Rod of Necromancy, and if you guys did not know this, the Rod of Necromancy can make skeletons from anywhere that has make skeleton minions from anywhere that has skeletons, and the graveyard actually produces skeletons randomly. So you can see there are skeletons here, so now all of a sudden, because a graveyard was planted inside an undead base, which is not uncommon, WFZ is able to force his way in with a Death Knight and then just drop skeletal minions in right here. Now, what's going to be worse is if the Death Knight tries to swing back over right here and gets another charge off, which is causing a lot of focusing issues. Alright, the ghouls are going to be able to clean that up pretty easily. It looks like one Acolyte was taken down for one charge, as the Death Knight is able to now head back home. Alright, he's going to be using another set of skeletal minions to perhaps pressure that front door. Meanwhile, the Death Knight going after the Sea Turtle Hatchling quickly used a Death Coil against one of those Sea Turtle Hatchlings. Perhaps wants to use it again, another charge to try and take down these giant Sea Turtles. Meanwhile, the Death Knight is here going after giant Sea Turtles of his own. Both of them going to be able to take down pretty quickly. Death Knight picks up Gauntlets of Ogre Strength +3. Very nice item. WFZ finishing off these minor Sea Turtle Hatchlings here, as both sides look like they're going to be opening with Crypt Fiends. It's just the timing that was slightly different. Alright, TBCBM now going up against all of these Ogre Warriors here. You can see that the Death Knight also bringing in a large number of skeletal minions, and the Death Knight may try to just venture in once more. You can see that there is a Spirit Tower here, and that Spirit Tower does deal a lot of damage, even though it doesn't slow down any of the units. Now the Spirit Tower is going straight after some of those skeletal minions there. The Acolytes trying to run around, trying to stay alive, and it looks like they'll be able to do exactly that, as the Spirit Tower, that 27 to 32 damage per attack, just far too much. They're attacking the Haunted Gold Mine instead of actually attacking the Acolytes, and that will end up putting a stop and an end to that. Death Knight sitting at level 1. Meanwhile, off over here, Death Knight sitting at level 1, almost level 2, has Claws of Attack +6 and Gauntlets of Ogre Strength +3, which means, well, he does have +9 damage, +75 hit points, making his Death Knight the right now leader in this battle. Alright, going up against a Nerubian Tower, that is going to be a little bit difficult here. You can see that the Death Knight now being forced to retreat all the way back. What's happening? Death Knight taking a lot of damage. Yes, that 75 hit point bonus is helpful, but you cannot take so much uncontested damage, as all of a sudden the Death Knight is now in serious trouble, down to 150 hit points and not going to be able to do all too much. Oh, grabs Unholy Aura from the skeletal minion, and by getting to level 2. I don't know if that was on purpose, but at least it makes it look better, as the Death Knight now will be able to regenerate his hit points that much faster and move around the map that much more freely. Alright, the Death Knight coming from WFZ perhaps spots this, and oh, we are going to be seeing a bit of an engagement here. Death Knight now getting some easy shots there, and that is going to be a problem, as the Crypt Fiend's going to perhaps turn around and get some easy damage here. Alright, we're going up against the attack here. Death Knight gets did he get the item? I don't know who had the item, but he did grab something. The Death Knight, however, now on the run, down to 84 hit points. Definitely running. As you can see, Unholy Aura being carefully applied to the units in the back here. The Crit Fiends are still going to get some extra damage onto the Death Knight here, as we are going to see some extra damage from those Skeletal Minions. Skeletal Minions are actually kind of deadly at this point, since they do have that normal attack, as the Crit Fiends are still doing a little bit of that chase and that dance. There's a Death Coil for the save. Skeletal Minion may get taken down. A focus fire from the Crit Fiends onto another Crit Fiend there, and this is turning into a little bit of micro wars as the oh gosh, Death Knight unable to save his own unit. I could have sworn the cooldown was available, but just not there. All right, plus 12 attack on this Death Knight. And I would not be surprised if the plus claws of attack plus 6 were both transferred to the Lich by the time that Lich came out. Plus 17 damage after that Orb of Corruption. And all of a sudden, that Orb effect just deals so much more damage and is just that much more powerful. Alright, Crit Fiends trying to take down the Gargantuan Sea Turtle here. Double ensnare onto that poor Crit Fiend there. And that is just a bad day to be a Crit Fiend now. All right, we're going to get a death... Are we going to get a Death Coil? Come on, get that Death Coil down. There's a Death Coil to try and save. A Murloc Tide or Murloc Nightcrawler finally taken down there. And I think that TBC BM bit off a little bit more than he could chew with this Creep Camp. No Essence of Blight for regeneration, but he is focusing down the Nightcrawler, as the Nightcrawler is pretty much walking away freely at this point. All right, one last final hit there, and should be able to finish it off, as the Death Knight, sitting at level 2, Lich is out on the field, does have double claws of attack plus 6, attacks fairly quickly, and will be able to take down that Gargantuan Sea Turtle. Meanwhile, down over here, Death Knight, now at level 3, has a Pure Up of Vitality. He's quickly making the faster play, as there's now a Talisman of Evasion, and just shy of level 3 by 3 hit points, or 3 experience. Alright, Obsidian Statue healing up. Death Knight going to be buying most likely an Orb of Corruption. Sold some items, not quite sure what he sold there. It looked like he sold one of the other items that he had gotten from the Gargantuan Sea Turtle, perhaps not liking it. Death Knight now on the field, handing over the Orb of Corruption to the Lich, and there you have it. That extra damage, just dealing so much. All right, Death Knight now out on the field. Frost Nova onto the Death Knight here. Death Knight taking a bit more than he can chew once again, as the Gargantuan Sea Turtle is now in full chase mode. All right, Death Knight now making a bit of a play, as the Lich does have a Potion of Greater Healing and the Pure Up of Vitality, making him that much stronger. All right, WFZ may end up losing a Crit Fiend. Yes, loses the Crit Fiend. WFZ and completely mistimed that Death Coil, as the unit was walking away trying to dodge, ends up losing one of his own units. Death Knight unable to Death Coil his own Crit Fiend, as he is low on hit points. Death Coils the WFZ's Lich, and therefore Death Coils just flying all over the place, giving life. WFZ now on the run. Death Knight trying to chase, as the Death Knight down to 120 hit points. There is another Death Coil there. Lich down to 123 mana. Are we going to see a Frost Nova? The Death Knight looks like it will be able to get over there, and yes, able to escape once more. All right, Dark Ritual really needed from that Lich. Lich really wants some mana and not going to be able to get it. That Death Knight, if it took another Frost Nova, it would have been certain death for him, and I would have given things in favor of TBC BM. Instead, things are now pretty even once more, as both sides are going to regroup and restructure themselves. Lich could pick up a Potion of Greater Mana. No, gonna stay on the Death Knight. Nope, given to the Lich. That does make more sense, since the Lich is much more of a mana user. The Dark Ranger sitting in at level 1 as well, as we're now going into a big fight here. All right, it looks like the Death Knight has enough mana for Death Coils. The Death Knight pretty much the main priority target, and the Death Knight of WFZ has a Potion of Greater Healing, making him that much harder to take down. 45 over 50 supply compared to 48 over 50. We are pretty much neck and neck at this point. No one with a clear advantage at this stage. All right, Lich might turn around and go after a Gargantuan Sea Turtle here. It looks like the Dark Ranger is actually going to try and engage. There you go, actually splitting up the turtles a little bit, and that actually might be a little bit of a benefit to TBC BM, since he does have the Gargantuan Sea Turtle here. All right, what's going to be happening? Dark Ranger, Death Knight, Skeletal Minions, and oh, that Gargantuan Sea Turtle is pretty much can get nuked at any moment, any second. as the units are now going back around. Gargantuan Sea Turtle not engaging against any of the units here. Now down to 600. Oh, Frost Nova down onto the Lich. Lich now trying to escape. Looks like he will be able to, and because of that Pure Up to Vitality, he is really not as vulnerable as you would normally think. Abomination taking a lot of focus, -3 armor right now as he is trying to get away. No Death Coil to save him, as it looks like one more shot and there he goes. Meanwhile, Crypt Fiend going to get taken down from the other side. Both sides losing a lot of units. Death Coil saving that Crypt Fiend there, even though he wasn't that low on life. And both sides are just trying to be one step ahead with their Frost Novas and their Death Coils. There goes another Crypt Fiend there. Are we going to see a... oh my goodness, so close. The Lich perhaps could turn around and focus that unit down there, as we are still going into a full-on chase. There goes another Crypt Fiend there. Death Knight still has plenty of mana. Potion of Invulnerability. Death Coil, Potion of Healing to save WFZ's Death Knight. The Death Knight now running away. All right, the units are pretty much out of alignment and a very, very poor configuration, as the Obsidian Statues do need to back off. All right, Death Knight now trying to venture back off to the north here. Lich currently silenced, unable to get a Frost Nova off, and we are looking at a very low hit point Obsidian Statue trying to get away. It looks like it will be able to get away with 7 hit points, and now still on the run. Abomination now joining on the fight. Lich trying to run. The Obsidian Statue cannot stop to even heal, and every time it gets stuck behind the Lich, that is just absolute bad news. It needs to get there, and it needs to hurry up and join back in on the fight. The Dark Ranger just wants one final shot, and it looks like the unit is going to be able to get away here. And the Tome of Intelligence, and what item is it? A Scroll of the Beast. Not necessarily the item he was looking for, as this Obsidian Statue is just hiding off over here, hoping to not get tracked down. All right, WFZ wandering around here. Oh, the Obsidian Statue walks straight into the army and gives level 2 to the Dark Ranger. 43 over 50 supply compared to 48 over 50. WFZ starting to pull ahead here. That one Obsidian Statue, a big difference there, as we are now looking at a Temple of the Damned being was completed. Was that completed by... where is it? Yeah, Temple of the Damned right there. We are getting Banshee Adept training, as the Nerubian Tower quickly getting focused down. That using that Scroll of the Beast to increase the damage to perhaps take down some of the key buildings here. Scroll of Town Portal now being used. WFZ's Tomb of Relics will stay intact, as the units both sides using that Scroll of Town Portal to head back home. Death Knight now heading over perhaps to the top left or top right hand side of the map. Ogre Lord, very, very prime target. It looks like the Death Knight of WFZ thinking that pretty much the same exact thing. Use this opportunity to try and get more experience and better items. Turtle Rock, one of those maps that is very interesting in terms of items because of the number of potions of invulnerability and potions of greater healing that are available to drop. Ogre Lord now taken down. Tome of Intelligence and Brilliance Aura now given to the Death Knight. That is going to be a huge deal once again, as the Lich is going to be able to just constantly drop Frost Novas, and the Obsidian Statues are going to be able to heal a lot more as well. All right, Forest Troll Berserker. Now, I'm going to get taken down as well. I believe there was a rune of healing. There is a shade keeping track of this, and there is now just armies here, or these red creep camps that are all that are left. Going after the orange creep camp here. Death Knight will get to level 4. Lich will stay at level 3, or just got to level 3. Death Knight looked like something level, and I thought Lich was already at level 3. Death Knight now getting very, very close to level 4. Should be able to get here right there, right now. Now level 4. And Tome of Experience. Who's going to pick it up? And it looked like the Lich, or the Lich didn't look like it gained that much experience. Did the Dark Ranger pick it up? The Dark Ranger, yeah, the Dark Ranger definitely picked that up. Down over here, it looked like there's a shade. Oh no, there's a skeletal minion keeping track of this. WFZ does spot this. Gonna go ahead and take that down here in just a moment. They're waking up the creeps, now picking up each of those quick units there, as the Forest Troll Warlord will get taken down. Incoming from WFZ, Death Knight decides not to go for the creep jack, instead for the last red creep camp, as we see a couple of snares go down. And there is now a level 3 on that Dark Ranger. That level 3 Dark Ranger could make a very big difference with the minions. If the minions are then turned into mana for that Lich is going to just constantly be that much stronger. And oh, we should no potential creep jack. Both sides are very, very strong, as One skeletal minion just runs into the base in order to die. 50 over 50 supply compared to 56 over 60. WFZ with the definitive advantage, and the Death Knight now perhaps trying to come in for the creep jack here. Death Knight now leading the charge. There are some attacks. Arrows are flying from both sides. Dark Ranger on both sides, level 3, level 4, level 4. It looks like the levels are slightly in favor of WFZ as the Abomination quickly taken down. All right, meanwhile, Crypt Fiend able to slip away from the back and still able to engage against some of these low hit point Abominations. Another Abomination now taken down as WFZ is able to keep his heroes alive. And I think that is the big difference here. WFZ has been able to keep his heroes alive as TBC BM has been constantly focusing on the heroes. Meanwhile, WFZ has been focusing on units instead, and by focusing on units, he's been able to just take them down. All right, there goes another. There's a Death Coil saving a unit again, and we are just trying to figure out who has the lead. 40 over 70 as the Dark Ranger of TBC BM does get taken down. It looks like a Crypt Fiend will get taken down as well. Lich unable to keep up. Are we going to see a Dark Ritual to get a little bit more mana? The Dark Minions do have 290 hit points, so that would be a net generation of mana. Not quite sure why she isn't doing that right now, as that would definitely help. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. 39 over 70 compared to 52 over 52, so there is about a 10 supply difference between these two armies, and we are still running scared. The blue army unable to really take a big chunk out of WFZ. All right, skeletal minions heading back off to the north. Quick scouting, making sure that there isn't an expansion to worry about, as banshees are now coming out from TBC BM. If TBC BM can perhaps use the same Banshee trick and do it better than WFZ, she will be fine. But the mastery training is already done for WFZ, as the Banshees are now making their way out. Brilliance Aura, however, as you remember, is on that Death Knight, and that Death Knight with extra mana is definitely that much stronger, leading this army here. All right, Dark Ranger about to rejoin Banshee now, making its way over, getting that Brilliance Aura. This Banshee should perhaps make its way over as well. You want as much mana as you can get, as the Obsidian statue is giving a bit of that mana as well. All right, Shade trying to keep track, does spot the other Shade, and they just want to get along, but the other armies are just attacking each other anyways. All right, more Banshees being added. 48 over 70. 49 over 70 now. Acolytes being added for, I guess, more Shades here, as another Shade was taken down. Let's take a look at this. We are now going into low upkeep. What was being trained there? There is an Abomination. Dark Ranger is now out in play. 66 compared to 56. Still a big difference in terms of army sizes, as the Banshees are getting close to maximum mana. Almost depleted the gold source. You have about, what is that, 150 seconds left, which is about 2.5 minutes. And with 2.5 minutes left, expansions are going to become necessary if this game goes any longer. All right, Death Knight now making its way over. Are they going to get some easy shots? Where are the Shades? There is the anti-magic shell as well. Obsidian statues all ready to go. And that is a lot of anti-magic shell to be cast across so many units. No chance for possession either, as we're looking at some rallying already underway. 62 over 70 compared to 69 over 70. So yes, still a slight advantage for WFZ. WFZ now unsummoning some unnecessary buildings, and he didn't get a boneyard, so there is not going to be any frost worms per se. All right, are we going to see the anti-magic shell? And that is going to be the big problem. There's the anti-magic shell, and it may be a little bit late, as the Death Knight finally has anti-magic shell. And here we go. There is the engagement once more. The Banshees are in the back. They're not going to be able to cast Curse either. There you go. Here is the engagement, and I know it's extremely difficult to figure out. Oh, there is a big Frost Nova across all of those Banshees. The Banshees were not protected, and the Abominations quickly focused down. All right, Crypt Fiends with the Focus Fire, with the Lich -5 armor, and that has been the big difference. Meanwhile, level 4 Death Knight, very low on hit points, has to be very careful. The Death Knights have been getting focused down rather quickly as well, as the Lich is currently silenced. All right, so far both sides fighting. Skeletal minions getting taken down pretty quickly as well. Both sides trying to keep their armies alive and well, as the Abomination now gets another anti-magic shell in order to try and stay alive. Abomination now without the anti-magic shell taking extra damage from those Banshees. Crypt Fiends constantly fighting. Not quite sure who has the advantage here, as one Abomination goes down for TBCBM. TBCBM almost lost another one there, but able to save it with a Death Coil. All right, we're still trying to save that unit, and that Abomination does end up falling as well. Death Coil onto a Crypt Fiend, and the focus fire is very, very intense here. All right, one Abomination in the backfield. Can't do very much, trying to get up into the front, and that Abomination is pretty much not doing much of anything. TBCBM, however, going to be losing another Abomination in the front, and he is now in low upkeep. No silence across the Banshees and that Death Knight. We're still looking at a fight here, and it looks like the Lich is going to end up getting a Death Coil in just a moment as it does fade. No, not yet. Dark Ranger now now in the backfield, taking a little bit too much damage, and both sides are still trying to figure out who can come out ahead here. Crypt Fiends continuing the fight here, as we are looking at WFZ getting another Death Coil off onto his Dark Ranger, keeping those units constantly alive, and it looks like WFZ is going to come out ahead, 45 compared to 56. We are now back on Blight to try and save things, as the gold mines have pretty much been mined out. There isn't a haunted gold mine here, no additional expansion for TBCBM, and TBCBM looks like he will end up losing Game 3 and this series to WFZ. As long as WFZ doesn't make some drastic, horrible decision or mistake anywheres, he should be fine. He has acolytes mining on a base. He's up on bases, he's up on army, and I believe he is also up on heroes. That is the full well, let's see. Where's the Dark Ranger? Dark Ranger is level 3 here. So it is 543 compared to 544, I believe, as the Death Knight is level 4, and the Lich is level 4, and the Death Knight is level 5. However, Lich now at 5, so it's 543 compared to 554. Lich with with 1200 hit points, double Pure Up the Vitality, and a Helm of Valor. Crazy amount of hit points on that Lich. Also +7 damage. That Lich never looks so beefy and tanky. I haven't seen a level 5 Lich with that many hit points in quite some time. Maybe if they had a gem of health instead of the Pure Up the Vitalities, that would be a big difference. Anyways, Death Knight still with the Sobi mask. Meanwhile, Lich has a maximum mana, and that Lich is just such a strong, scary character. You wouldn't realize it if you try to focus it down. 1200 hit points is very difficult to burn through, and I think that has been the big problem. TBCBM has constantly been trying to take down this Lich, expecting that Lich to fall pretty easily, but at 1200 hit points, it's just absorbing damage, and then as soon as any more damage is going to absorb, we should be seeing a Death Coil to heal it back up the moment it's in any serious danger. Also, if it gets into any more serious danger, it can just use a potion of invulnerability, be alive for 7 seconds, and then perhaps get another Death Coil ready to go. So that Lich is pretty much no chance at all to fall in the hands of a skilled undead player as WFZ. WFZ making its way back down over here. Obsidian Statue rejoining on the fight. It looks like TBCBM found what he wanted, and that is an extra base to try and destroy to make sure that his opponent can't get ahead. All right, Tomb of Relics going to get focused down first. Meanwhile, the army is coming over to reinforce one Nerubian tower, chasing after the units here, or slowing down the units, as a Death Coil saves the Crypt Fiend at just the right time. I'm not quite sure. Oh, there was a Frost Nova on the Crypt Fiend, but the Crypt Fiend also had anti-magic shell, hence why that Crypt Fiend didn't fall, even though it was so low on hit points. Alright, Death Knight now heading and making its way off to the north. Lich at level 5. Dark Ranger getting close to level 5 as well. All of the creep camps pretty much mined out. Only a handful of green and maybe one very low level orange creep camp available on the field. 38 over 60 compared to 62 over 80. That is not going to be a good fight for TBCBM going into his last fight here. It feels like TBCBM is just delaying the inevitable unless he can get some magic nukes onto a Lich with 1200 hit points and anti-magic shell, pretty much making that possibility nil. All right, let's go ahead and make our way down off over here. We're a Lich. It does have flat plus 17 damage, but plus 17 damage, but down 500 hit points, not going to amount to very much. Meat Wagon attempting to take down some of at least the infrastructure. Perhaps the Black Citadel gets some experience since it does count as a tower. Banshees now making their way over. Anti-magic shell. Death Coil does save, and we're still doing a little bit of chasing. There goes one Banshee, but the units are now once again on the run. Crypt Fiend now quickly focused down. Death Knight getting caught. Is it going to be forced to use a Scroll of Town Portal? It may, as it is taking a bit of damage. Now trying to head back off to the north here as the Death Coil does go down to save that Abomination. Both sides still trying to fight. Both sides hanging on ever so barely as the Death Knight now able to slip through. Down to 925 hit points compared to 950. As the Abomination looks like it will get taken down. Dark Ranger getting closer and closer to level 5 for WFZ. You're going to have a 5-5-5 hero combination. And that... Look. That's all the information I was trying to make a pun. That's all the information you need. As the Dark Ranger now making its way back down over here. Dark Ranger going to be finishing off a handful of these Acolytes. If perhaps enough minions could get spawned, that could make a big enough difference. Another Acolyte getting taken down there. Scroll of Town Portal. Are all the units close enough together? Saving a very low hit point. Crypt Fiend able to teleport back home. I believed it was saved. Yes, it looks like a Death Coil was laid down. 28 over 60. WFZ, I'm sure, could be very BM'd right now and just say, just quit already. You have no chance. Economic advantage. Yes, there is a haunted gold mine down over here, but a Dark Ranger gonna go ahead and clean things up. Just take out the other Acolyte. Dark Ranger is chasing after the units, going after an Acolyte. After the Acolyte, one more shot should do it. Yes, there it goes. Level 5 now on the Dark Ranger. 5-5-5. Death Knight now trying to make its way back over. Scroll of Town Portal, or Staff of Teleportation. Dark Ranger comes back in, regroups up with the rest of the army, and is now trying to finish off more of these units again. Dark Ranger cleaning things up. It looks like skeletal minions will get taken down once more. 5-5-5 hero combination against a 5-4-3 hero army, economy, army size, all of those things adding up to a sure victory for WFZ, unless he folds for some reason, which I cannot imagine. Obsidian Statue now on the run. Crypt Fiend's now trying to fight back here. There you go. There goes that Crypt Fiend once more. There's a silence, and it looks like this Lich will be heading back, and I believe the GG will be coming in soon. Yes, 28-minute game that really ended about at the 23-minute mark. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.